So, you're wanting to play some Dungeons & Dragons and create your very first character. So you print up a character sheet and say, how am I supposed to fill all this out? Well, fear not. On today's episode of Nat 1, we'll be taking a look at all the different pieces that make up a character sheet for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Hello everyone, I'm KrowOfMurderXV. So, first things first. This is a character sheet. This is where you're going to jot down all of the information about your character. I know for a lot of people that are just starting to play can take a look at this and feel a bit overwhelmed. Don't worry though, we're going to break down each section and give a brief description on how it affects your character. Let's start with something simple, the top of the page. Here is where you'll put your basic information about your character, such as their name, class, level, race, alignment, sex, and a brief description about them. Also, it might not be a bad idea to write down your subclass and multiclasses here as well when you get to a high enough level. Below your character's name is where you'll put your EXP. It's important to keep track of it so your DM will know when to level your character if you're doing an EXP leveling system for that campaign. Next, we'll go to the left of the sheet for the ability scores. Ability scores help you determine if you succeed or fail at a skill or saving throw. The big box is where you'll put your total for that skill, and the small circle at the bottom is where you'll put your modifier. Honestly, you could do it either way, but we'll get into more details about those in the next episode. To the lower right of the ability scores are the skills. These skills will be used whenever you're trying to perform a certain action, most of the time out of combat. To the right of each skill will show what ability score you'll use in order to use that skill. Above the skills are your speed and initiative bonus. Speed determines how far you can move on the board during combat. Initiative bonus is what you'll add to your d20 roll when combat starts, and is determined by your dexterity modifier. Above that will be a small box that has your hit points, armor class, proficiency bonus, and current hit points. Your hit points box is the total number of hit points that your character has, so this number will only change when you level up. Your current hit points, however, are the number of hit points your character currently has. Let's say your character has a total of 20 hit points, but lost 6 due to triggering a trap. Your current hit points would be 14. Next is your armor class. Your armor class is how difficult it is for your enemy to hit you. Your armor class total can depend on things such as your armor your character is wearing, enchantments, and even some abilities your character possesses. Lastly, in this box, you have your proficiency bonus. This number is determined by your current level and is added to things you're, well, proficient with. We're halfway there, so let's keep going. To the right of that box are your saving throws. This is where you'll write down your ability score modifiers and add that to a saving throw when your DM asks you to make one. Below that is your passive wisdom. This is for your DM to determine your passive perception score, so that way you won't have to roll for perception every single time. To the right of those two are your proficiencies, traits, and abilities. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you put things you're proficient with, your character's traits, and abilities. Below that are languages. This is where you put all the languages your character knows how to speak, read, and understand. In the very middle of the sheet are going to be things related to your combat. First, there's your armor and shield. This is, well, where you put what type of armor you're wearing and a shield if you have one equipped. To the right shows another AC symbol. This is where you'll put how much AC your armor and or shield will add to your total armor class. Below that are your equipped weapons. Here you'll put what weapons you have currently equipped and ready to attack with. The DMG is where you'll put what type of dice you'll roll for the damage and how many of that dice. And the type will be what type of damage that weapon does, such as piercing or slashing. Below your weapons will be your ammo for your long-range weapons, things like arrows or crossbolts. To the right is how much of that type of ammo you have. And finally, the last 3 boxes are where you'll put your inventory. The main one you'll want to focus on is your items box to the far right. To the right of each item will be a place for you to write down how much that particular item weighs. The other 2 boxes are for other equipment and treasure. Mainly your treasure box will be where you write down your currency in the left boxes, and other valuables you can sell to the right. And the other equipment box is where you can put miscellaneous items. Now, I know this seems a bit daunting, but thankfully you don't have to pay attention to the whole sheet during your entire session. Plus, your DM will help you determine where on your character sheet you need to look when something is going on. That does it for today's episode. Join us next time as we deep dive into ability scores. Now, show us what your character can do. Next is your armor class. Your armor class is how difficult it is to read this f***ing script. That's how difficult to...